Captain Brayden Schenn puts up 700 NHL career points in tonight's victory over the Nashville Predators.
Hey, this is Brayden Schenn. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I'm your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's episode of Locked On Blues, I want to talk to you about Brayden Schenn getting 700 NHL career points in tonight's victory against the Nashville Predators. And the Blues won. I know it's such a shocker to hear that sentence. The Blues won a game, but we're going to talk about why this win was so important. And a true miracle did happen to the lineup, so we're going to talk about that as well. It's actually a really positive episode today of Locked On Blues, which we don't have a lot. So sit back, grab a snack, and get ready to just listen to some great Blues commentary. Before I get into today's episode, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. The St. Louis Blues had a 3-2 regulation victory over the Nashville Predators. And it was a great showing by not only the players, and we're going to talk about Brayden Schenn in particular, but just the whole entire atmosphere being back here at Enterprise and all the fans that really showed up for tonight's game. Again, I think we have the best fan base in the NHL, and I'm very biased when I do say that. However, on tonight's broadcast, it did show, so I wanted to put that out here. But in the first frame, on a power play goal, Brayden Schenn was able to score. And while this was the 7th goal of the season, Captain Brayden Schenn did hit a big milestone as he was able to reach 700 NHL career points, which is huge. And not only is that a big accomplishment, but that is something that not a lot of players get to reach in the NHL. So again, this was such a big goal and such a big play for the Blues, and just really adds to his achievement. And, there's so many great players that have hit, 700. And to get it on a power play deflection goal is something that is so memorable because that's who Brayden Schenn is. He finds ways to score. And I am truly just so happy for Brayden Schenn. And most importantly, I'm happy that he was able to do it on home ice as well, because that's another thing that I feel like makes it even more memorable is being on home ice while achieving an accomplishment like such. But I mean, we have to remember that he was drafted to the Kings. And while he only played literally under 10 games with the Kings, he was still a 5th-round draft pick, went to Philadelphia, and had a lot of success there. And then he was dealt to here in St. Louis. And on an episode I did a couple days ago, I talked about Brayden Schenn as a captain. And I said how foolish it would be to trade him or anything like that, because he does have a really good presence in the locker room. And I have experienced that firsthand. And in tonight's contest, you could tell, and this is even prior to his goal, even though it did happen in the first frame, but just the leadership that he takes onto the ice. And I feel like he makes the Blues whole. Like, he is that missing puzzle piece that connects this team. And a lot of the issues that the Blues have had, it doesn't have to do with how he is as a player. There are so many bigger problems. And for me personally, I just feel like him achieving this accomplishment just continues to show why he is such a value to this team. And I want to talk to you about 700 points, right? Because that is something that not a lot of NHL players can achieve. And I feel like for all of us that maybe we're a little bit tough on certain players and we don't really give them their fair shot. I want to put up that there is a good amount of players. I mean, you had McDavid who hit this mark kind of rapidly, right? But I mean, Brayden Schenn is nailed with different players that we can consider to be really good players. I mean, John Carlson hit it with the Capitals January of 25. And so many other players. I mean, you have Wayne Gretzky, obviously, Mario Lemieux, McDavid, the quickest that anyone's ever done it. I mean, there are so many players that are so iconic, and it's such a big achievement. I mean, we also have, I mean, when and I want to talk to you maybe about why this matters even more so. But Brayden Schenn has been along for such a long time in the NHL. And I feel like when I'm talking to you about different players, and I talk to you about maybe a guy like a John Carlson, or I talk to you about a guy like a Connor McDavid, or a Gretzky, you might be like, oh yeah, they're all very good players, but I feel like Brayden Schenn doesn't get that same respect. And I'm not saying for most Blues fans, I am talking national media wise. I feel like he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. And most importantly, the respect that he earned. And in tonight's contest, it just reminded me why I think I defend Brayden so much and why I'm such a big fan of him as my captain of the Blues. I'm not on the team, but as the captain of the Blues, and why I truly see so much good with him being here. It is because moments like this, where we can say, yeah, we have a player that was able to get 700 NHL career points. And while a lot of those points had come from Philadelphia, he also, don't forget how he played when we won the Stanley Cup back in the day, only in 2019, not that long ago. So when we talk about players that are impactful, yeah, I think about Brayden Schenn, and I think that he just gets a really unfair kind of he gets judged unfairly by how the blame has been going on him, when I truly believe at the end of the day, Brayden does. And fans and personnel and everyone can see that this is still the Brayden Schenn that can still do great things as a player too. I mean, he's played 1,061 NHL career games, 285 goals, and 415 assists. That is something to be proud of. And I think for Schenner, that is why it's such a big deal, because he hit his 1,000 NHL career game back in last February, and now he hits 700 career points. And you're going to tell me that Brayden Schenn is a player that you want to get rid of? I think we're blaming the wrong player sometimes, because this is a player to me that has that leadership experience, in my opinion, who has displayed that for us numerous of times. He's a player that's able to still get things done on the ice, which we saw when he tipped Cam Fowler's initial shot into the net off of that, which made it the deflection. But we also have a player that's so passionate about the fan base, about the team, about the organization. And I think that just all goes into the big boiling pot of this is why he should stay. I think getting rid of your captain after all of these changes that we have seen would be a foolish decision. And again, I defend Brayden because I like Brayden as a person besides a player, but I also respect him as a player, and I like what he does as a player. Do I think that sometimes we give him an unfair rep because he is our 2C? Absolutely. I think if he was a 3C, we would not be complaining maybe as much as we are, but I think it's because when you're on that 2C, you're elevated, and that's why there is so much blame. But when he's not on the 2C, I noticed that there isn't as much blame. So it is an interesting thing to just keep in mind. But nonetheless, congratulations to Captain Brayden Schenn on 700 NHL career points. What an accomplishment. And I'm so proud that he's been able to have all these milestones here in St. Louis with the Blues, a team that should be lucky, and I mean lucky enough to keep him and not trade him, because I don't think it's worth trading him by any means. All right, before I talk to you about tonight's win, I do want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. I tried singing that, didn't go as planned. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or moves, the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. And you can bet next touchdown scorers, drive results, totals, and more. And it keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. The St. Louis Blues tonight displayed excellence when they defeated the Nashville Predators 3-2 in regulation. And the reason why I say regulation is because this is a team that cannot find ways to win in overtime. So it is important to note that if they do have an OT win, I will make a big deal out of it. But nonetheless, they were able to pick up the 2 points tonight. Obviously, in the first frame, as I've talked about, Brayden Schenn was able to score on the power play. And I just want to mention this too, that we haven't talked a lot about Cam Fowler this season, and rightfully so, as Fowler has been kind of hidden. We know that he's been paired up with Logan Mailloux, and again, I thought that was a mistake. I think that Fowler should be on the second pairing, but at the end of the day, this is decisions that are made by Coach Montgomery, and I understand that it's to help Logan Mailloux, but at the end of the day, there is still that part of me that's like, just let Cam do his thing. Don't hold him back. That's the way I see it. But anywho, going back to that, he had an excellent shot. Schenner deflected it, and nonetheless, it came to be a successful outcome. So I was really happy about that. Nashville scores, and they tie it 1-1. And then we see Boucher. He was able to score, which is such an insane thing to say. And this is still on the first, because at the end of the day, Boucher hasn't been playing good. But we talk about this time and time again. For the salary that he has, we expect him to play maybe a little bit better, and for it to only be a 6th goal of this season, it feels like a joke to me, because this should be a player that is scoring at least every 3rd game. Like, this is a player that should be more impactful offensively. And I feel like we talk about it, but then yet the blame goes to guys like Brayden Schenn, in my opinion, who don't deserve it. So I was happy to see that goal from him. Tomer with the feed. Second period, nothing happened. But what I will say, though, is that Nashville, I mean, man, the amount of shots that Nashville had throughout this entire game, 32, by the way. In the third period, Boucher scores again, believe it or not, giving the Blues a 3-1 lead. However, Nashville was able to get a short-handed goal, and luckily, the Blues, they were able to just get through it without having it be tied up. But that's not the full story about what happened in tonight's game. And it's easy for us to maybe say, well, Hale, it's fine. It's not that bad. But this is why I think it's so frustrating for us, is that there was a goal and it was offsides, right? And it took a very long time for them to review it. But I mean, again, I wanted to make sure I got the time correct. It would have been with 2:53 left in a second. It was a Predators goal, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. But it just took such a long time. And in my opinion, it just looked so offsides that I don't know. But it was okay. But also too, and I know that it was offsides, but like, and I love Joel Hofer, but he needs to do a little bit better when it comes to picking the puck up. I know that he's not Binnington, and I don't want to put all of that on Joel because he's actually had a relatively good season. But at the end of the day, so be more careful about what you're doing in net. But nonetheless, it didn't count. So I don't want to be too critical because still it was offsides. But I mean, my guy, by the way, and I want to talk about him because my friend Mike Mayer, who I've had on this podcast multiple times, put some stats up, by the way. And this is for all goalies with at least 6 games played. And Joel Hofer now has a top 5 save percentage of 227. Wait, oh my gosh, I'm sick and like I am trying. Has a top 5 save percentage with 927, a top 5 goal against average of 2.11, and 1 shutout. This is truly a statistic that is unbelievable and is something, and I want to give Mike a lot of credit to this stat because this is something that we don't talk about enough. It's how good of a season Joel Hofer has had since the very beginning where he didn't play so good. But the whole team, I mean, they didn't play so good, so I can't be like, oh, Hofer was the only one. And there was talks about setting him down and being like, why do we end up trading Colton Ellis and blah, 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 all the nonsense that we're used to hearing. But at the end of the day, I am so proud of him for what he was able to do tonight and just what he's been able to do in general. I mean, we talk a lot about the NHL standings, right? And the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because I want to show you what's going on or tell you. Remember when I talked to you a couple days ago about how the Blues are really close to holding a wild card spot? Well, the Blues have 38 points, right? The Mammoth have 39. The Kings have 39. A couple more wins, the Blues could be in a wild card spot, which is so crazy to think about. But it just shows you like how bad all the other teams really are. And I'm talking about the Pacific. Like the Pacific is trash this year. Like the top team in the Pacific, which is the Golden Knights, unfortunately, they'd be the 4th team in the Central. So it just goes to show, and they have 44 points. So right now, I mean, the Central, and we give credit to the Avalanche with 61 points, the Stars with 57, the Wild with 52. But we have to give a lot of credit, though, to how the Blues are at least fighting back right now. And it's really astonishing what we're seeing with St. Louis hockey. So got to give them lots and lots and lots of credit because that is not easy to have the turnaround that they are having. But look at me right now. Hi. I don't know if I should be this excited. But we had kind of a Christmas miracle today. And I want to talk to you about it. But first, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It is free to hit. And make sure if you're listening on a podcast app such as Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, that you hit that follow button, give 5 stars, and say what's up. The reason why I am so excited to talk to you right now and I'm sick. So me being excited while sick is truly something that means this is good news. And it is because in tonight's contest, by the way, we got back Jordan Kyrou and Jimmy Snuggerud. I know. So tonight we saw Robert Thomas, Jake Neighbors, and Bushi on the same line. Schenner, and I'm going from left. So Bergen, and then Kyrou. Third line, Dvorsky, Suter, Snuggy, and then fourth line, Sonny, Turchenko, Stenberg. I love that Otto Stenberg is here, by the way. And then defense, Broberg, Perico, Tucker, Folk, Fowler, Mayu, which is the usual. But I am so happy that they are back. I mean, Kyrou listen, it sucked. And Kyrou, he was at lower body injury December 6th against Ottawa, missed 9 games. And then Snuggerud had surgery on his left wrist in early December. And I cannot believe after 4 weeks back, I have to say, though, it's really, really good to see them as a fan because I just talked about how the Blues team, it's such a mess without really both of them. And then all of a sudden they're back. So I feel like I kind of manifested this. But Monty said it's nice Kyrou and Snuggy will be players tonight. And there's still guys that rely on not only to score, but to help the whole entire game, the dynamic, both of them. And Matthew Joseph and Fabry are expected to sit out, by the way, and they did. But I do have to say, though, they did fine. Like, at the end of the day, like, when you're returning after being out for so long, and it wasn't even that long, but still, I give the guys some grace, so I don't really attack too hard when it comes to that. But the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is another miracle that I guess you could say, is the fact that we have something very beautiful right now. And no, it's not my sniffling. It is the World Junior Championship. And we have some Blues prospects that are on some teams. So we have our guy who I'm a fan of, who I actually spoke to at the NHL draft in 2024, Adam Juracek for Team Czech these I always say it long. And then from this year's draft, goalie Lev Hargenstrom from Team Sweden. Oh my gosh, if I could even speak. So that's really exciting. Last year, obviously with Team USA, Snuggerud, he won gold. But always happy for our guys. I think we were supposed to have Jekko in it, but he ended up not. So those are the only 2 players that we have. But that's another thing that I'm happy about right now. What else am I happy about right now? Oh, that we won a game. But no, I am truly so happy that Kyrou and Snuggerud are back in the lineup. It sucks when we have a couple of players in the world. Sorry, people were talking about tonight's game and they were kind of funny after some of the things that they commentated on. Ooh, the T-Birds lost really bad tonight, 7-1. Ooh, not good. I want to see if Kyrou, I'm recording this right now, the players should have just spoke to the media. I'm trying to see if Kyrou said anything because I get these emails. Nope. And I know that, again, his game wasn't great, but why are we so hard on different players that just returned to the lineup? I don't get it. Usually I get my email sent from the Blue. Oh my gosh, they just sent it. So let's go see. Oh, there's a schedule update. So the Blues do have morning skate tomorrow morning at 10:30. So tonight it was Monty, Schenner, Thomas, and Bushi. So we did not get any media from Kyrou or Snuggerud. And when practice got switched to 11:30. Okay, so practice was switched. So interesting. I'm sure that, it's the same mold from all of them. Bushi's probably like, oh, I'm happy I scored 2, and I'm happy that he did. But other than that, I don't know. I would have liked to hear from at least Kyrou and Snuggy on how they felt playing tonight. But again, it is what it is. And just to give fans an inside perspective, because I cover multiple NHL teams. So the one team that I cover, it's been like 5 years now of being there in person. Usually for post game, you have to request players, and only a certain amount of players will talk to you. So, like, let's say you wanted Kyrou, but if he didn't feel like, and I'm not saying this happened, I'm just giving an example, and he didn't feel like speaking, like, you just wouldn't get him. It's at practices where you can really get any player that you want because you can just walk up to them. But post game, you have to talk to PR of that given team, and they usually make the selection. So that's how it's done. All right, I will talk to you tomorrow, and like always, let's go Blues.